details about this party being ridiculous and about every company event being ridiculous. But I don't remember. I remember feeling shocked. And so but I don't know that there was like a conversation happening or if he just came up to I don't know.
You just blocked it out because it's that ridiculous and
violating. It was a violation.
Hey, I'm Teen Zekas.
And hey, I'm Ilika Follette. We are business owners and moms with corporate backgrounds, and we are all about getting Black women paid in both corporate and business.
And you're listening to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast.
Let's go.
Hello, and welcome to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. I am Teen Zekas, your pivot and pay strategist.
And I'm Ilika Follette, your business strategist.
So today's episode, we mentioned this story in passing and realized we needed to do a whole episode just about crazy stuff that has happened in the workplace. So I'm going to start it off with recapping this story. Because the last time I mentioned it, I thought I had already told you, Ilika, and then you had a face, and I was like, oh, I see I have not. So this, I don't even know. I'll just do the high level.
Right.
I was explaining why I left a particular company, and the answer was that the head of HR licked my face at the holiday party.
Still don't even get how we got here.
I mean, so the lead up just to that part is the head of HR was a gay man. Mm-hmm. And I think that he thought that, like, if he's not into it, it's not harassment, I guess. Because he would talk about women's bodies. He would talk about if they were getting fat. He would, I mean, so I think that my assumption is that he thought there was some other other level of what he could get away with because he's not into women.
Yeah.
But I'm not here trying to get my face licked at work.
It makes me
or anywhere.
I want to scrub my cheek just hearing the story, but go ahead.
I mean, and I remember I was describing it to someone and I used the word unacceptable. Mm-hmm. And then I immediately was like, oh, damn, that means I have to not accept it, which means I need to go get another job. That was the line. But there was a lot of stuff that led up to that. I was at that company for over a year. This was my second holiday party there. But after each all company event, I used to have a meeting with the head of HR afterwards to talk about what the owners and CEO had done. They would make racist and sexist jokes at the expense of employees. At the events, they would have us do humiliating things for money. They would be like, oh, who wants to do this thing and get $100?
Oh my gosh. What is a thing? Just an example of one of the things that they would do.
So one was an outdoor event. It was like a sporting event. And there was a pool with like a water slide. And it was like, if you go off the slide head first and do a flip, you get $100. And and one of my colleagues did it. But he is not a swimmer, and he didn't know that because it's like a water slide that the water would be deep there. So a lifeguard had to go in, and while the lifeguard was rescuing him, and we were not yet sure he would be okay, the CEO made a joke about how Black people can't swim.
Was the guy Black who jumped in? Oh my gosh.
Like,
that's really
and we could even talk about why there's a stereotype that Black people can't swim, because when we tried to swim, people put an acid in the pools.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Like, that's not. So he had made jokes about Asian people. I remember one of my colleagues, like at the holiday party, it was like, oh, like sing a song for $100 or like do a talent, like, but it was like dance for money, basically.
Yeah.
And people were up there doing it. And then he would like make a joke about his like squinty eyes or whatever. And I'm like, dude, like what even are you doing? So after each all company event, I had like a regularly scheduled meeting with the head of HR to be like, the owners did this, they said this. And then came the holiday party where he was the problem.
But
And
you
I
know
was like,
what?
what?
You know what's funny is, before going into the story where he got ridiculous, but what's funny is most people don't get that HR is not for us.
Correct.
HR is to protect the company. So you're going to HR complaining about the owner of the company as if HR is going to do anything about it.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
nothing was gonna come of any of those meetings.
Exactly.
Unless I was just there to document, if I was gonna
Sure.
sue. 'Cause in retrospect, I mean, this was so early in my career, I didn't really know what I know now about my rights and
Right.
things, but had I known how toxic this place was and that was illegal, maybe those conversations would have been to get in writing my
Right.
complaints before going,
Mhm.
um,
If he
but
wrote them down, because that's
well,
the
I would be following up then with an
thing.
email, right? "Hey, to recap our conversation,
Exactly.
XYZ,"
Mhm.
right? You gotta be the one to put it in writing because 'cause they're not going to.
They're not going to, like,
Or you
H
could record those conversations.
now, right? But 20
Mhm.
years ago,
Sure.
you have to, I mean, who has it unless you have, like, a Walkman. I mean, you know what I'm
Right,
saying?
I'm I'm picturing wow, my kid's been watching Home Alone and Home Alone
Mhm.
2, and I'm remembering that little, he had it was called, like, a talk boy. You would
Yes.
record the stuff on, like, a cassette.
Like, that's pretty much what you had to have, like, 20 years ago. Now you can do it on your phone, but back then it was like,
Mhm.
but it's so funny. I mean, to your point, like, HR, and what our audience really needs to know, and before we even get into the story of the HR guy licking your face, um, HR is not for you. It's
Right.
really for protecting the company. How can we best protect the company? So you come to
Mhm.
them, and with your problems with the company, with your harassment or things that are happening to you, and many times all they do is say, really many times it's you're the one who's out. It's the
Right.
craziest thing. So we've got to learn to use HR for our own goods, our own purposes, like you said, to document the
Mhm.
situation so that you can use it to stand up for yourself or to advocate for yourself for
Right.
future things or for other things.
Right.
Don't expect to go to HR to change the culture of a company that HR is working for, because that's just not going to happen.
Right.
Like, it's,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I'm trying to think of a situation where it would be to their benefit and yours.
Mhm.
Like if it's something where gosh, I can't even think of what it would be. I guess if it was someone who was not above you in the hierarchy that you had a complaint about, but like
Mhm. That doesn't even matter, right?
right.
Because I mean, I've been in situations where I worked in different areas within, like, close to HR, or around HR within different larger companies. And I
Mhm.
remember I had a girl who was reporting to me, and she was she was early in her career, in operations and things like that. And she came to me about a story from, like, one of the higher ups, someone who's at the VP partner type level.
Mhm.
And I remember the guy had said to her, so it was right after the 4th of July, right? And this girl she was American, but her family was from the Middle East.
Mhm.
And so it's right after July 4th, and her and another colleague of hers who was, like, also the same, also young and early in his career as well,
Yeah.
talking about 4th of July. The partner comes up, and he says, "Oh, well, how'd you guys spend your 4th?" And she's like, "Oh, had a good time. We did some different things. We did some fireworks and stuff." And he said, "Oh, did you use the fireworks like normal people, like the rest of us, or did you strap them on your chest like your people do?" Ha ha.
Uh, uh,
What this guy said.
wow.
And
Wow.
so when I hear the story,
Mm.
I'm, like, flabbergasted, right?
Right.
And I wasn't early. I was about 10 years into my career, so I still believe that HR was for all of us, right? So,
Yeah.
I take her story down. I go to HR because I wasn't in HR. I was her manager. So I go
Mhm.
to HR and have her go to HR, and I document it. I share her story. She shares her story. HR came, they interviewed everybody and did all the stuff. And then guess what? She got moved off of that project. The partner stayed.
Yep.
He continued and
Yep.
thrived in his career. She ended up leaving the company,
Of course.
because she was devastated. She was like, I can't believe this happened to me,
Right.
and no one cares. And I let her know I cared, but me caring didn't do anything about it.
Right. Right.
You know?
And especially in all these companies that are like, we're a family and all this stuff, and they're still just going to protect themselves over you.
Right.
It's, that is a shame.
Exactly.
And, I was thinking about, I mean, there really is not much more to the story, as you keep saying, like, we're going to get back to it. Like, he was drunk as hell. And I remember being particularly annoyed about it because I was an RA in college. And so I was like 21, and I'd be like out at a party, and then some of my residents would come in and I would leave because I was responsible enough not to be drunk with my residents.
Wow. It's amazing.
As a 21-year-old, because I was like, I just don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah.
This grown-ass adult VP of HR was so tanked at this party. I had another colleague that he very clearly had a crush on and who was very uncomfortable with it. And I remember at that party, he was like sitting on his lap. And I'm like, dude, could you not? I mean,
gosh.
I don't even. So, and honestly, I don't remember what led to, like, there was no logical leading up to this person licking my face. Like, I can barely remember. Even when I say it, I'm like, did that really happen? Like, I can't quite picture it anymore, which is probably good.
I am trying to picture the lick itself, which is crazy to say. I'm like, was it a full tongue? Was it like, this is where I am with it, which is out of control.
Yeah. Well, and I remember my mom once told me that she was at a holiday party and it was like her boss's wife kissed her.
Like, ew.
Right.
Kiss.
I mean, I didn't ask for details. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm like, to whatever extent it was, it made her uncomfortable, obviously. But it's like, I don't know why at these parties people feel like
they can do whatever
they can just do whatever. Right. Like, it's still a work event. Right. And also, whether or not it's a work event, uninvited physical contact is assault.
Right.
Right. Like, that's not.
So then let's set the scene. So you guys are at this holiday party, right?
People are dancing for money.
People are dancing for money. Ooh,
getting humiliated with racist and sexist jokes.
Of course, by the owner. And then what are you doing? And the guy just comes up and like, how does that happen?
Girl, I cannot tell you. I honestly do not remember. Like, I remember details about this party being ridiculous and about every company event being ridiculous. But I don't remember. I remember feeling shocked. And so, but like, I don't know that there was like a conversation happening or if he just came up to, I don't know.
You just blocked it out because it's that ridiculous and
violating. It was a violation.
Complete violation and disgusting.
Like, I wouldn't want my husband to lick my face. Like, it's not like a thing. That's not a thing. Is that a thing? I don't know. It's not my thing.
It is definitely a thing, but like you said, not your thing. And random guy.
Yeah.
Who you are.
And I remember I was talking with a friend about what happened. And I was like, that is unacceptable.
Yeah.
And then I thought, shoot. I mean, I have to not accept it. If something is unacceptable, if you're being treated at work in a way that is unacceptable, you need to not accept it. And maybe now I would know I could maybe get an employment attorney or things of that nature. But at the very least, you need to get the hell out of that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that, I'm hoping, is the takeaway people get from this is if the way you are treated is unacceptable, do not accept it.
Exactly. And don't just go around letting people lick your face.
I mean, or other things. I mean, you have a story as well. Why don't you tell your story?
Oh yeah, I'll tell a story. So it's funny. So I told one story already, but that didn't happen to me. That happened to someone that was reporting to me. A story that happened to me is I was super early in my career. I was probably at the same level as the girl who was reporting to me. I was interviewing for this major company, major new role. It was going to be really cool. I hadn't done anything like this before, and it was something I always wanted to do because
Yeah.
it was a role that would allow me to travel and kind of just be free. I wouldn't even have to live anywhere, right? Like that's how I looked at it. Like I'd always be on the
Oh.
road, so I don't even have to live anywhere. And I always
So
wanted
what an
to,
exciting opportunity to
right,
be
super
in.
exciting. And so I'm interviewing for the job. I'm so excited about it because it's my dream job, and have a couple interviews. They go pretty well. The people are nice, whatever. And then I have my last interview, and it was like an older white guy. I remember he had a beard. It was like a silver beard, but he had a black spot in the middle. Like this is how well I remember this man. And
Yeah.
so he looked a little like rough, like this is just how he gets down. He's just a little rougher looking, right?
Mhm.
And so during the interview, just he's not asking me any interview questions. It's kind of just like, how are you doing? Where are you from? What do you like to do? Like those types of
Mhm.
questions, right? And just regular conversational, nothing like what's your strengths and weaknesses. Have you done this type of thing before?
Right,
Tell me
nothing
about
about the
a time,
role.
right? Tell me about a time when blah blah.
Yeah.
None of that. It's all like, um, what do you do for fun and things like that, right? So I'm
Mhm. You
like,
can get, like, one of those questions.
yeah,
You don't need a whole interview of those questions.
exactly. So I'm just answering them. I'm not thinking anything of it.
Mhm.
And then he says, okay, so what if I told you that I had a role? Because this was like it was a consulting position. So I could go to different projects and stuff.
Mhm.
And he's like, what if I told you that I had a role? And I'm thinking, oh, finally a work question. I'm excited to answer this because this is
Yeah.
what I do. I know how to answer these
Mhm.
questions.
Yeah.
What if I told you I had a role where, you and I would spend a month in Mexico, um, together and,
Ugh.
just seeing the land and really exploring and having a great time. And of course we'll do some work, but we get to have some fun together. And I was
Ugh.
like, and I didn't know what to do. I'm like 24.
Gross.
And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I love Mexico, and the work sounds great. Okay, sure. Yeah, it sounds like a good role. I didn't know what to I was
Right.
totally unprepared, and I was 24. So I'm like,
Well,
"Yeah,
there's no
here we
appropriate response to an
go." Right.
inappropriate
Question.
question. Right? Like, what were
Yeah,
you supposed to say? Like,
yeah,
"Yeah, let's" oh,
yeah, let's go
gross.
live it up in Mexico together,
Oh,
Mr.
that's so
6
gross.
years.
So
I don't know how old he was, but,
he was
at
asking you
24.
date questions. He
Yeah,
was not asking you
exactly.
interview questions. He was asking like, "This is our first date.
Uh-huh.
What do you do for fun?"
Mhm, exactly.
Oh,
Who have you
gross.
hung out with before? What kind of guys do you like? Like, that's what you might
Right. Oh,
but
I hate
so
it. I hate it.
so it's funny because after that interview, I felt obviously uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And but I was like, you know, this is a huge company. This guy doesn't represent the whole company. And I'm not gonna let this one guy ruin my chances,
Your
or make
opportunity.
me look, yeah, rob me of my dream job. So I did get the offer, right? And I took the job. And I
Wow.
was thinking, and as I took the job, I was thinking, I hope they don't put me on this trip with this guy. And I was thinking, am I sitting here as someone who would normally say, ooh, I don't want to, if someone's sexually harassing you, you want to get away. But I went for it. I went for the job. So
For
am I
the
like,
job, not for
am
the
I a part of
harassment.
this? Right.
Right.
But in my mind,
You
as
were
a
already blaming yourself. If anything were
exactly.
to happen, you were
Mhm.
already blaming
I
yourself.
said I might as well have said yes in my mind. So
Right.
the cool thing is
Mm,
I never saw this guy again,
thank goodness.
thank goodness, right? Never saw him again, so I never had to go on
Mhm.
any projects or anything with him. But also I found out afterwards I can say no. I can say no to things. I can, to the
Right.
projects and stuff like that. And the company's so big, I don't ever have to see someone like that again. So I
Mhm.
think to me that story says don't it says, "One monkey don't stop no show," right? Like, remember what's the Lorianne said that, "One monkey don't stop no show." Basically, it's like one person doesn't have to dictate what your career looks like or what you do. And so it's
Mhm.
funny because this actually leads into another, another, podcast that we did, another episode where we talked about, those gatekeepers and things like that. But in
Mhm.
this case, it's like that person that you're allowing to stop your show, that you're allowing
Mhm.
to dictate what you do in your career. Had I turned down that role, my whole career would be different. There's so
Right.
much I learned and so much that I
Mhm.
grew from at that company. And, but if I had said no because of this one jerk,
Mhm. Yeah,
then
I'm so torn on this story because it could
Mhm.
have been the case that that one jerk would have
Mhm.
been your boss, and
Yeah,
every interaction would have been colored by that, and as we said, then HR would have been not on your team and what have you.
right.
Like, there's so many different ways that can go, and one person can have a big impact on your
Mhm.
experience at a company. I'm so glad
Yeah.
you didn't have to work with him.
Right.
But for folks who are in a situation where that person does have
Mhm.
control over their experience at that company, that's when you gotta get out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Had I gotten there and that been the case, I would have had to find a way to get out or
Right.
find a way to maneuver in different
Mhm.
ways.
But
And
then
depending on the size of the company, many times it's hard for one person to stop you.
sure.
We are if it's a company with 100,000 people, and then it's almost like we're allowing that one person to stop. Like we've decided or
Mhm.
we decided to believe that that one person can stop us.
Right.
You
Maybe
know,
there are a million other teams you could go on or
exactly. There's
Mhm.
other things that can be shifted and changed. And while you look for that shift and change, if you're feeling like it's not happening fast enough, we can always leave. We can always go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, always
Yeah.
be open to other opportunities.
Yeah. So I'm thinking my takeaways from both of our stories are do not accept the mistreatment
Yeah,
and do not let someone's mistreatment of you dictate the trajectory of your career. You can
exactly.
go after opportunities despite people whose
Yeah,
actions are ridiculous.
exactly.
But if it is impacting you directly, you need to get out.
Hit the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in situations where it's a small company. A small company, there's nothing you can do, at times,
Mhm.
right? There may be nothing you can do, but a huge company, you
Right.
may have
Like the
somebody.
company I was at, I was a software engineer and there was one software engineering team. Like we were just one, it was
Was nothing I mean,
one
the
team.
owner is at the holiday party acting a fool. There's nothing that can be done,
Right.
right?
Right.
So, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
completely different situation. I love that we have that distinction too between the smaller company and it's like get out or deal with this, right?
Mhm.
Those are your 2
Mhm.
options. The larger company, it's like you can get out or you can maneuver around. You know,
Sure.
there's
Sure.
a little more
Mhm.
opportunity in
Yeah.
terms of like maneuvering or not being having to deal with
Mm.
someone at a
Well,
larger
and it also depends on your feeling about the response from the company, right? Because
size.
if it's something where like they are allowing a third party to treat you a
Mhm.
certain way
Yeah.
because they do not value you over that
Mhm.
business relationship,
It's a big
then
deal.
you may be at the point where you're like, even on another team, I'm still gonna be mad at this company for not
Mm. Yeah.
standing up for me, right? And so it needs to
Or
be
look at
about
them.
you and, how you feel valued and taken
Mhm.
care of in the company. If
Yeah.
it is one individual and you're like, "Hey, I could be on another team," that's one thing, but if you're like, "This company does not support me and I'm not
Mhm.
safe here,"
Yeah.
then you gotta go.
Absolutely. Just like the young girl who
Mhm.
reported to me where she had that situation.
Right.
Like, when HR didn't support her, it was nothing she could she had to go. She had
Yeah.
to go. She
Yeah.
didn't feel safe. She no longer felt oh my gosh. It still breaks my heart even thinking about that story because she didn't feel safe, and she was probably 23, you know?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, I hated that. Yeah.
Oh, this started silly, but got to be kind of a dark kind of a dark episode.
So,
I mean I think what I want to leave us with is you deserve you deserve to be valued, you deserve to be treated
mm,
with respect, you deserve to be safe, and
absolutely.
anything that is, taking that away from you is not worth
Mhm.
whatever. It's not worth
Yeah.
your time, energy, effort, even if the money's good.
Mhm.
And so some of the message is, let's always be trying to build up that savings account and give it ourselves some cushion so that if we are in a situation where we need to leave, we have the ability to do that, and that we can
Mhm.
look for the next thing without desperation, So if we are in an interview where someone is hitting on us or whatever, and it's a small company, you can say no thank you to that job because you're not desperate for the next thing.
100%.
Or you don't have to say thank you. You could just say no.
I say let's leave that here. You know, we've got it. So thank you all for listening and watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who may have gone through something like this. I think we all have a story. So comment your wild and crazy story. Or if you don't want to go as far as commenting, comment that you got one, you know, because so many of us have them. And sometimes we've normalized it so much that we're surprised we even have it. Like when you said before we even started talking, I was like, I don't even have a crazy story. And then I thought, oh, I've got about 10 crazy stories where something wild happened at work. So we've all got one. Comment yours below. And thanks for watching. We'll see y'all in the next episode.
See you next one.
Hey, thanks for watching the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, make sure you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can catch more episodes like this one.
And join the conversation by leaving a comment below. Be sure to share this channel with incredible Black women in your life so we can continue getting Black women paid.
All right, we'll see you in the next one.